What can we leave here? For every other journey that we take, we pack before we go. This final journey, the whole goal is to unpack as much as possible, right? What can be left here? One of the best parts about what I do is that I don't remember all the times that grandpa got drunk and got mean. None of that is there for me. I am just here right now, soul to soul, not roll to roll. It's just us getting to see people, to feel people on that level. Oh, it's such a gift.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am
Living God's light.
I was blessed with holding the hand of a dear brother a month ago, just 24 hours before he passed, and look in his eyes and make some jokes and say, rats to you for beating me there, and save a spot for me, warm a seat. You know, I want to be there too with you, and we're going to make it fun when we're together there. And it was, it's a divine gift to be there at the end for precious people. It is.
Absolutely.
And I've been unofficially a death doula for a lot of people, and it's really weird. God brings people in my life, and I know right away as soon as I meet them, like Spirit shows me that they have an exit coming soon, and you're here to kind of prime the pump, get them ready. And it's a beautiful process. I've witnessed it far too many times than I think should happen, but I still am grateful for it. Very grateful for it. Every single one. And there's been, again, far too many.
So I've got a question for both of you around that. This is something, as I was thinking about this, looking forward to this conversation, thought came to mind. That how can that preparation and perspective, so for somebody who death is an unfamiliar thing or seems scary, they don't know what's coming, they haven't had conversations like these, how can having that preparation and perspective that you provide help them in those moments after transition? Because I've heard a whole bunch of different experiences people have, and some of it seems to be tied to the frame of mind they're in that moment of transition, kind of the expectations, the experience is kind of personalized for each person. So does that make sense? What I'm asking is, hey, how can having like a death doula or somebody like that helping prepare them for that transition, how does that help them in the moments after?
So for me, understanding this particular individual I'm talking about, his wife had passed 6 days earlier than that, or within a week before him. And what really helped him was to know she was already on borrowed time, that she got a borrowed year. She got an extension on her life contract. She, in fact, died across the street from my house in the driveway where she collapsed and stopped breathing, and they were doing CPR, the medics, and Blessed Andrea goes over and yells, "Get back in your body!" And she went back, and so she got a bonus year, not just for him but for their kids too, and they both feel it too, But this whole process, to me, is the beautiful part, is helping the loved ones understand the timelines. Because a lot of our loved ones are not exiting at their earliest window. And to understand that, it helps you appreciate all that extra time. And you see this very commonly in people's life path where they could have exited much earlier. But here they are, many months or many years later, and we still had them all that extra time. And so we can see even their exit as a gift because they were on such an extension. And then other times where had a loved one die at 10, and how do you doula that? How do you help the family with their 10-year-old little angel And all you're there to do is be the mop. You come and you clean up. You mourn with those who mourn. You suffer with those who suffer. You give hugs when no one's giving hugs. And just to be that little part is so precious. It's beyond any value. And to me, it's something that our culture across the world, no matter what society you're in, they've always had a position of a death doula in every culture until now. But now we're seeing a resurgence, almost a renaissance of us remembering how to care for each other, even at the end of life.
Thank you for that. That's a huge part of it. The caring for the families, right, through the process. And there generally comes a time where if I'm working with someone who's, coherent and cognizant and we can have conversations and we can talk about this stuff, there still comes that time where I switch from them being my primary client to the family, right? Mm-hmm. Because while I'm there for them and supporting them and kind of coaching them through, once we enter the actual active dying phase, it's very much like active labor, right? Like the body knows how to do this part. And so they need me much less than the family does at that point. But as far as how the prep and conversations help, I have a really good story to kind of illustrate that. I worked with a woman a couple of years ago that had pulmonary fibrosis and was becoming increasingly more and more short of breath and was afraid to die because she was afraid of meeting her mom on the other side. Mm-hmm. Her mother had been so abusive that she was actually arrested for child abuse in Germany in the 40s.
Whoa. Oh, that's significant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So So she was terrified that like now she's going to be able to get me again, basically. And so with her, a lot of our work was kind of what can we leave here, right? For every other journey that we take, we pack before we go. This final journey, the whole goal is to unpack as much as possible.
Yes.
Right? What can be left here? And I think that helps right? When you're traveling lighter, the journey's easier. And taking those big, heavy, hard emotions and frequencies with us, right? They have to be filtered out at some point along the journey, right? Because that stuff isn't compatible with heaven, for lack of a better term. It's just not. And so my goal is to help people leave as much as possible. And so with this woman, we did a little ritual that we created together where I gave her a really heavy rock and we got into a deep meditation and she's holding this rock. It was about as heavy as she could physically hold. And I asked her to slowly put all of the energy and pain and shame and everything that comes with being an abused kid, the fear, all of it right into this rock. And then we pictured her mom standing there as she placed the rock at her mom's feet, understanding that weight that she's been carrying this whole time never belonged to her. That was her mother's rock. That was her weight, right? And so it was a beautiful moment for her. I mean, lots of tears, lots of release. I went back to visit her the next week, and now she had this whole table set up with crafts and she's creating things to give to the other women in her facility. And I asked her, I was just like, whoa, what's going on here? You're so different than last week. And she goes, you made me realize I can't leave until I'm full of nothing but love. Mm-hmm. And so when the time came, her transition was really pretty easy, right? Like she made that decision and that call to switch from the challenges of being human, the densities of all of this stuff, to leave that part here and start identifying with her spiritual. And I think if we can do that before we go, it makes the process so much simpler.
Yeah. And what do you envision in the moments after, when she's on the other side, the life review, whatever? What do you both envision that moment is like, having that clarity and having pre-released a lot of those burdens?
Fast forward. That's it. Like after you've already cleared the deck, you can go and say, oh, I got this life review thing. That's what my second life review is going to be. Yeah. There'll be still some pauses, but mostly fast forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it, like you mentioned earlier, right? We all experience what we need to, right, in that actual time. But that, yeah, I just envision maybe a faster, simpler, lighter process, right? Of not having to go back into all of that stuff. It's like, no, let's do that here and leave it here.
Yeah. So when you talked about the increased empathy, like you feel a pain in your shoulder and ask somebody, this is something that's a part of my life now, that sort of thing. And it's interesting to me, and we've talked about this on other episodes, how many times people are like, I wish I could have an NDE so I could have those gifts or experiences. Yeah, I see your eyes get big. You're like, no, you really don't. You really don't.
They're barely survivable.
Yeah. Well, and you said there are a lot easier ways, and I'm finding that is true. Yep. There are gifts. If you want the gifts, you can have the gifts without having gone through all of the pain of those gifts.
Yes.
Of getting to those, or the route that you both took. So that's something that, but part of the problem is recognizing and accepting that you actually have that gift. Mm. Because this is something that I've slowly been coming to terms with, and sometimes I'm still like hesitant, and now that I can hear my guides talking to me, they still scold me fairly regularly. They're like, dude, seriously, we're still doing this? We're still doubting after all this time? But that's when you said you feel a pain in your shoulder, I feel that same thing sometimes with people. Like, not all the time. I've got to like consciously kind of open up a little bit, because usually I'm very focused and I've got a ton of things to do. But when I pause and open up, I'm like, hey, you been getting enough water? If you got a pain in your lower back right over here, if you got a knot on your foot, and it's the exact same sensation. I start feeling it in me, but it's not me. And I'm like, hang on, is it this person? So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And that got me thinking about these gifts that you both have. Anybody can have them if you intentionally if you seek after them, if you want them, if you ask for them, try to develop. And what I found is the best way to approach that is just be playful with it. Playful exploration, experiment with no expectation.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to do it. The other thing that I thought of that has been fascinating to me, tied to people having near-death experiences, is how many times somebody who's had one, they reject it initially. They deny that it happened.
Well, medicine's good at helping you with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The physical side, the trying to like materialize everything that we experience. It's just the way that it is. But so many times they'll try to reject it. And the point of this is just plain having the near-death experience is not what causes the transformation.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the acceptance and the decisions that, okay, something happened to me. I am now going to accept this experience and use that experience to transform my life. So this is another example of just plain having a near-death experience doesn't do it. It's the desire, the intention, and the recognition that you had something significant. And that's something else that can happen with anybody without having had a near-death experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when the voices started in my head, I had to make this decision. Do I go see a professional? Which I did. But I could hear the voices telling me, don't do what this guy's going to do. And I trusted, thank my heavens above that, or heavens within, that I didn't listen to that medical advice at that time. And I listened to the spirits, the loving spirits that are around all of us all the time. And they helped me unlock who they are, what they do, and how they work. But very easily, I could have still been on some schizophrenic drug right now. Yeah.
And I think that key there is that we do all already have these gifts, right? It's that intentional, like, uncovering them, right? Life gets layered on top of all of them. Like kids have them. Kids are running around with them. Like babies, their life hasn't happened to them enough yet, right? Yeah. To have told them that none of this is real, to have programmed it out of us, And so, yeah, I think you nailed it, Lynn, with when I get quiet and open up, right? Like it's that very intentional stepping into that space. And I love that you'd use the word play as well.
Yeah.
For a few years, I've been talking about, it's work. And it's like, no,
It's play.
It's play.
Yeah.
The work is trying to avoid the gift, or play it down. But the play is the embracing the gift and allowing it to embolden, strengthen, and become a real tool in heaven's hands.
And Danielle, I loved how you mentioned like kids, they have this and that life hasn't been layered on to bury all of that. And it just reminds me of the phrase, be like a little child in so many things. This is another, like, you don't have to get it right. You don't just do your best, have fun with it. Sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes it isn't. And just explore, have fun. And just play with your gifts. Don't worry about breaking them because you're not gonna.
Yeah. When we get into our lives, we're kind of like children in the way where we're so into our life, we can't back up a bit. And having a near-death experience forces you, it shakes you and forces you to back up a bit and realize you never were this consciousness in the game. You're a consciousness in a vessel that's playing the game. And that's a big difference. And we can choose to do that. We don't have to have the drastic experience.
Yeah. Danielle, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the transition for you when you realized no more ER nurse, but it's time to help people as they transition. I'd love to hear what that process was like for you.
Yeah. So I haven't worked as a nurse since the day I passed out in my bathroom. So I was 2013.
Oh, wow.
So I stopped nursing and doing anything not anything medical, but stopped nursing then. And then I was home for 10 months with a wound vac and ostomies and lots of rehab stuff to get through. And the minute they put me back together, I call it my Humpty Dumpty surgery. It was 6 months after that. As soon as the surgeon said, you can pick up more than a coffee mug, I heard you can go move to the Virgin Islands now. And so that's what I did. So that's when we just up and quit. And so neither one of us, my husband and I met in the emergency room. He was an EMT tech and I was a nurse. And so we met working there. And neither one of us wanted anything to do with the hospital setting after my experience. And so when we got to the island, he got a job at a beach shack, renting out kayaks and snorkel gear and literally like a movie kind of thing. And I started waitressing. And as I was waitressing, I started meeting people on island. And then it was like, oh, well, I love kids. Can't have kids, part of all of the stuff that happened. So it was like, cool, I can babysit kids. And then somehow as I was babysitting, I started cleaning people's houses. And then that morphed into a property management cleaning business. And so for the 5 years that we lived there, that's what I was doing. I was doing nothing medical. I wasn't taking care of people. Like I said, still living unconsciously, trying to discount all of this. Then I had that ceremony experience where I hear my thing. And because I was so sick, we needed to get away from mold, which meant getting out of the Virgin Islands. And so that's when we moved to New Mexico. And it was in that transition that I had come out of that ceremony and Googled death coach, and death doula came up. Mm-hmm. And I found the Conscious Dying Institute, which is a group up in Boulder, Colorado. And the minute their webpage came up, I lit up, like goosebumps head to toe. Those little glass ball electric toy things where you can touch them and they're like, nah.
I love those. Yeah.
It felt like that. Like it was so intense. I remember pulling my hands away from the keyboard. I was like, okay, I get it. This is the thing. I get it. Like, calm down. And so I took their course. It was a 6-month training course with 2 certifications. One they call a Sacred Passage End of Life Coach, or what do they call it? Yeah, Sacred Passage End of Life Doula, and a Conscious Dying Coach. I had to look at my certificates. I don't use either of those titles. And so, yeah, I just immediately dove in. And so I started this technically as business in September of 22, but had been volunteering with Hospice and working in other things in that realm up until then. So that's kind of how the transition happened, where it was only because I got sick again and I wasn't living my purpose, right? Walking my path, that I ended up finding it. And now it's kind of the rest is history.
Here's a really cool tidbit from Spirit, okay?
Please.
Irma, the hurricane,
Mm-hmm.
means complete feminine. Maria, divine feminine.
Really? Huh.
It was interesting that those two nudges
Uh-huh.
got you out of the comfort zone and living your highest path.
Mm-hmm. And diving into what I can only describe as like this ancient lineage of female doulaing, right? Birthing and death
Mhm.
and illness and sickness and caring for. And like I've had moments and visions and things of myself as just old women throughout the ages, all different time periods, all different ethnicities, and always in the same kind of position where I'm like holding a baby, holding something. I'm just holding. And yeah, it was those two that cracked that open. So thank you for that information.
What I love is Source, God, Creator, brings life through the feminine, and mostly the caring at the end of life is through the feminine. And it's really a beautiful process. It's like giving you that hug into the world and giving you that hug out of this world.
Oh, totally. Yeah, when I describe it to people, you know, the work and the effort and the pain of laboring life into the world falls on our mothers, right?
Mhm.
And on the way laboring out of the world and out of the body, all of that work and effort and challenge and pain is ours, you know? And so the same environment where we want to create for a woman doing the hard work of bringing life in, we want to create for the person doing the hard work of laboring out of the body.
Yes.
You know, so it's the exact same process.
Well, in the words of one of my friends, you come into this life in diapers and you leave this life in diapers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All the same calming techniques work too, right? We don't rationalize babies out of crying. We don't try to rationalize people who are in terminal agitation. You know, it's like crawling into bed with them and holding them and rocking them and humming, right? Patting chests, patting backs, rubbing backs, like all the same things we do to comfort our little ones, we can do to comfort the people that we love as they're leaving.
Yeah, even the lightest stroke on skin calms that spirit as they're getting ready to exit.
Yeah, the connection, it spans lifetimes. It's something that we need from the beginning. It's something we need throughout life. And I think lots of times in society, different cultures, some more than others, but I've been very aware of how many times society and culture will try to distance people instead of bringing them together. They put stigmas on all sorts of things, like even just the verbal expressions of love and care and support. And I think we're getting better at that. We're getting more open, and a lot of those walls are coming down. A lot of the stigmas about expressing how much you care about somebody. But we need each other. We need that connection, whether it's verbal, physical, emotional, whatever somebody needs, being aware of that and having somebody to fill that need. It just makes this journey so much more fulfilling, so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was telling my husband that you were coming on, and I was so excited to talk to you. And I was like, she's a death doula. And he's like, what's that? But I think that's such a statement that there's a problem that we don't know about death doulas, right? We know about birth doulas. Those have become wildly popular. But what do you wish people would know about death doula versus like the traditional care of hospice and those things? What do you wish people knew?
Yeah. So just for the definition, a death doula offers non-medical, practical, emotional, physical, spiritual support to the person who's dying and to their caregivers and loved ones. So we don't do medications. We don't do wound care. We don't give medical advice, right? I have that background as a nurse, but I don't work in the medical realm at all anymore. And one of the first things I do with a client if they are at that stage and they are not already on hospice, is to get them hooked up on hospice. So death doulas are not a substitute for hospice. We're an accompaniment to. And so many people think that hospice is going to be there 24/7 or help take care, like the actual care of your loved ones. And that's not the case, right? They offer nursing care, which you'll probably see the nurse once a week, maybe twice a week as you get closer. You have 24-hour access to that nurse, but they'll have scheduled visits that are usually about an hour at a time. You get a bath aide that comes maybe once or twice a week to help you bathe and change and do activities of daily living. You get access to a spiritual advisor or chaplain, a social worker, and your doctor or nurse practitioner, PA. Those providers can also come see you in home. You also get medical equipment and medications delivered to the house. And so that's what hospice care covers. Everything outside of that and all of the care outside of that falls on family. And so bringing someone like a doula in, or I also use the title end of life guide because some people just don't even want to use the word death, right? So I have to come in a little softer, is really that, right? We hire an event planner to do a big wedding. We hire a real estate agent when we're selling a house, right? So this is the same idea where you bring someone in who understands the process, all of the steps, what to expect next, and they can help offer education and support. So a big part of what I do is just identifying like, okay, we need these resources. I just met with a woman yesterday who is very Catholic, and the hospice chaplain that came was trying to convince her that purgatory is not a real thing. So
that's not a time to be changing those beliefs. That's
Exactly.
heaven's job. That's heaven's job. Yeah.
Exactly. And so my response is, well, let's get someone in here who is of your faith and belief system that can talk to you about these things, right? Like we don't have, like, okay, so hospice in this case isn't able to provide that for you. Well, let's get who is, so just understanding that like all parts of our medical system, hospice is stretched really thin, and they can't provide all of the care that a family needs during this time. And so just bringing in extra support can be super helpful.
It is a beautiful godsend, though. I am so grateful for hospice in witnessing so many over the years, at the very end of their life, even some of the youthful ones that have passed because of illnesses. It is such a gift to have that loving voice to pick up on the other line, to help with those needs. Now, have you become a chaplain too? Because some doulas are chaplains as well.
I have not. And I've gone back and forth. It's interesting. I can't tell you how many times a year I dive in and I'm like, okay, I should go get my master's in this. I should go get my this and that. I need to be a social worker. I need to be a therapist. I need to be a chaplain. And I realize that very often people are comfortable talking to me because I am none of those things.
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
Like I'm just a girl, like I'm just like, yeah, you're a death doula. I don't even know exactly what that means, but you're here listening to me and you're seeing me and you're in this space with me. And that's really what they care about.
And it lets you be more authentic too. It does. Yeah.
So that is a brilliant insight. Because many times we judge ourselves that we're not enough because we don't have this or that or the other thing. And I'm so happy that you recognize that you can serve and love and be exactly what people need without going and piling all of these other things on, without taking on these other burdens, without doing those things. And I wish more people would consider that and then sit in that and absorb it and realize I am enough exactly as I am. I can provide everything people need in my life without running myself through the ringer to try to be more.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful insight. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think that, the magic for someone who's had an NDE or someone who's into their awakened path, you realize you don't need to be enough. You just need to be willing to listen for source, because source will be enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, I think that's been personally one of my biggest gifts through all of this and takeaways is that knowing that I am perfect, whole, complete, part of the divine, right? Like just as I am. And the only thing I have to do is just be that.
Yeah.
Be authentically that. Nothing else I do can take that away or add to it. And society doesn't help us remember that, right? So it's this constant like back and forth of like, okay, and then no, right? The getting quiet and remembering that.
The magic of all this is what makes you a good doula, what makes you a good end of life coach, or, you know, someone like me where I'm a life coach / spiritual coach, is just sitting down and actually loving the person. Because when you sit down and you actually love that person, no matter what they look like, no matter what they show up as, mistakes made in the past cannot be considered. You've got to love them for who they are sitting in that chair or sitting in that bed. And you get access to tremendous resources you could never educate yourself enough to get. And that's the beauty of it, is you get heaven's flow through you to help the individual. And then you do it enough, you help awaken that in them. And then it spreads. Yeah.
And that's one of the best parts about what I do, is that I don't have any of the family history, right? I don't remember all the times that grandpa got drunk and got mean, right? Like none of that is there for me. So exactly what you're saying, Vinney, I am just here right now, soul to soul, not roll to roll, right? There's no, like, it's just us. And yeah, getting to see people, to feel people on that level. Oh, it's such a gift, right? And it's this little touch of home every time, right? Being present as someone takes their last breath, feeling that portal, for lack of a better word, open up in the room. You know, it's like I get to touch divinity constantly through my clients. Yeah, yeah.
I'm feeling gratitude before the exit for the opportunity to be there with them for their exit too. That's such a beautiful gift, a hard gift, but a beautiful gift.
Yeah. So Danielle, I've got another, it's kind of a big question for you. We like to ask this of everybody. If you had one thing that you could tell the entire world and the whole world would hear it, what message would you share with the whole world?
It's okay. It's okay. Right now, there's so much turmoil and just people not understanding. Like, I could get so much deeper with big, huge things, but right now, it's okay. All of it.
Now, Danielle, if someone's watching this and they feel a soul calling to becoming a death doula, what would you say to them? What would be a good step for someone who's never even looked into this before, but they're feeling that soul calling? What would you recommend for them?
So first, I think it requires a really deep dive of what is calling you here, right? Because right now, death doula is kind of a buzzword, right? And it's kind of like it's becoming like the newest life coach thing where like, oh, I'm going to go do this and things will be easy. And recognizing like, this is sacred work. This is big. This is deep. This isn't about, it's not about the human level stuff or the ego level stuff. And so if you dive in and it's like, yeah, this is real for me. I want to be there for people in this way. There are several schools out there that I recommend looking into, training schools. Like Conscious Dying Institute is beautiful. Going with Grace, Doula Givers. Each one of these schools has a different kind of focus. So for me, I already had all the medical background. So Conscious Dying was perfect because they focused much more on the spiritual and the ceremonial and ritual. Doula Givers is run by a nurse. So if you don't have a lot of medical background and you need a little bit more of that, I would recommend going there. So there's actually a couple of doulas here in town in Albuquerque that run a 90-minute workshop called Want to Be a Death Doula. And they go over lots of these things for folks. So I would recommend emailing me and reaching out, and I can get you hooked up with people who can actually help walk you through all of these steps. Because I think it's important to dive into what is your reasoning and what skills are you specifically looking for, and then finding the training program that will fill those gaps for you.
Is the information for how to contact you on your website?
It is, yes. So I'm at deathdouladanielle.com. And the email is really easy. Danielle@deathdouladanielle.com.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Danielle, I have to give you and send you gratitude because you came up to us after our presentation at the IANS conference, and you came directly to me and handed me your cards. I'm going to be straight up. I didn't realize you had an NDE. So I'm sitting here totally mind blown because obviously I didn't pick that up in your website, but just thank you so much for listening to that, because you and your voice is going to bless many lives. Right? You're doing podcasts all the time because people need to know more about Danielle and what you're doing and how special this work is that you're doing. So
thank you.
Absolutely.
And maybe at some other point we'd have a conversation about, I also just founded a nonprofit this year to make things like death doula services accessible to everybody.
Oh,
so
love that.
because I'm not okay with this becoming something that's only available to a small percentage of the population.
Right.
So we have an entire New Mexico death care network now.
Congratulations.
So super excited about that.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So cool. All right. Our last question for you, Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
How is Danielle living God's light?
So that's a great example, right? Is not only doing this work individually one-on-one with my clients, but recognizing that by starting this death care network, it's like throwing little pebbles into a pond, right? And you see your ripples, and so I'm doing my best to have those ripples go as far and as wide and reach as many people as possible. Accessibility is huge for me, and recognizing that everybody needs this help and getting it to as many people as we can. So yeah, just kind of spreading the word that way and spreading that death is a part of life. It's a part of what we as humans experience. And there's so much value in that experience for everyone involved if we choose to open up to it.
Thank you for expanding your light today. If you want to find more information, get connected to our community, or simply contribute, see our website at livinggodslight.org. As always, please subscribe.